In the last video, I showed you how you can grade student work using rubrics at Turnitin.com by simply clicking on these various squares, and then it would tally up a score, and that was cool. The problem is that on a 4-point rubric, a 1 is 25%. So if you have a 10-point assignment and they get all 1s, the best they're going to get is 2.5 points. But maybe your percentage for the 1 column is different. Maybe your percentage is you're going to start it at 60% or 70%. So how do we get this all to add up? Just to illustrate the point, take a look here. Let's say a 13-point assignment. I chose 13 points because the math is not easy to do in your head. But on a 4-point scale, a 1 equals 25% or 3.25 points. But perhaps your scale, the 1 should start at 60%. That would give them 7.8 points. Now, you could take this 1 on the rubric and then do the math in your head and figure out, all right, so if it starts at 60%, what is 60% of 13? Okay, 7.8. But you can also have Turnitin.com just do that math for you. So instead of working with a 4-point scale, 1, 2, 3, and a 4, we're going to work with a 100-point scale, which, okay, that's the same as a percentage, 100%. And that way you can start your rubric at 60 points or 60%, and it'll do the math for you. So let's go back, and I'm going to make a copy of this rubric just to show you how this is done. So duplicate the rubric, and I'm just going to I'll keep copy. Now if you click here, you can change that 1 to anything. So in the biolit classes, when I was working with biolit, a 1 meant 60%. You're emerging, you're doing the work, it's satisfactory to a certain extent, it's not a 50, it's not a 0, so we would give it 60 points, or 60%. So I'm just going to type in 60. And over here we decided that a 2 was worth 75%, a 3 was worth 85%, and a 4 was 100%. Now what happened to 1, 2, 3, and 4? We're going to put that just in the title of the assignment, or the title of that category, okay? And then here 2, and so that way at least the student knows, okay, if you choose something here that's in the 1 column, a 1 is worth 60%. And again, so I'll just go through all of these and I will put the number value here. Now what you're going to end up with is as you click on these various sections to grade something, it'll give them a score, and the final number that you get will be their score that you can actually put into School Loop or Echo. So let's just look at how that works. I'm just going to take an assignment that my students were working on, and I'm not really going to grade it. I'm just going to show you how the math works. So just pick this student's work, and actually I want to, there we go. Okay, so I'm doing a little clicking here. Give me a moment. No submission. Okay, they haven't turned this assignment in yet, so I'm not going to be able to look at that one. Let's go to Society here. Click on this one. All right, excellent. So let's look. Here we go. This is the student's work he turned in, and I'm going to click on the rubric icon right here, and you'll notice that he's got 94 out of 100, and that equals, out of 50 points, that equals 47 points. But if I were to change this, just randomly move these sliders over, and it won't affect his grade because I've already entered his grade of 47. Watch this. If I hit apply, he's got 68.5 out of 100, gives him 34 points. Okay. Now he had 47 points. This is another thing you can do. You can actually just change that number, and boom, whoop, it's not doing it. But anyway, I'm going to have to reset his score, so actually I don't have to do anything. Just go click out of there. The whole point of what this demonstration though is not that I'm fumbling through all these screens, is that if you're using a 1, 2, and a 3, and a 4, you're going to then have to figure out what does a 1 equal in terms of a percentage, and then find out how many of these points did they get. But if you set it to be a 100-point scale, which each of those columns, and you can add as many columns as you want, then it'll do the math automatically for you, so that at the end of clicking on all the criteria, either on the rubric or using the slider, and then you hit apply grade, you'll end up with a score that you can enter into your school loop or echo. Now, one thing to note is Turnitin.com is probably going to round that up to an 8. That's not a big deal. It's just 0.2 that's being given to the student. So do be aware that Turnitin.com does round up, but we're talking between points. So typically speaking, that's not significant, especially if it's a 50-point or 100-point assignment. 0.2 is not going to be a big deal. So don't be surprised if you don't see these such fine increments in Turnitin.com.